Okay, good morning. And I think this means ready. Yes, got it. Good morning. All right. We're going to go ahead and get started here with our 11:30 briefing. And so today we have a very special guest who's going to join us in a little bit. We're fortunate to be available through the magic of technology and Zoom. Our Congresswoman Deb Haaland is going to be joining us for our deep dive topic for today. And we're also going to talk a little bit about the Bright Spot dashboard. This is a new tool that we have talking about all the good things and all the services available right here in Albuquerque that's available on our website. So let's begin with a couple of things from central New Mexico. And so to start with, we want to note that the New Mexico State Department of Agriculture, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic and NM's food industry, they're working together to supply the Native American communities across the state. And so this is all about getting food to these areas out on the reservation that need it. And it's a wonderful group of collaborators, including private food producers, the Department of Agriculture, Department of Indian Affairs, Aging and Long-Term Services, Health and Human Services, the National Guard is involved, New Mexico State University through their Agriculture Extension, and Southwest Border Food Protection and Emergency Preparedness Center running out of New Mexico State. So we really appreciate that effort. And it also includes the New Mexico Farmers Marketing Association, as well as the Livestock and Farm Bureau. So a really good team there that's going to work on food distribution and needs, particularly in rural New Mexico and again out in Indian country, somewhere where it's desperately needed. We want to talk a little bit about, too, what the city's been doing to help with respect to that in a little bit. We've been trying to help one of our neighbors in particular with this issue, and so I'm glad this task force is starting because we were able to kind of fill a gap, but now we need to work on this for a much longer term. We also want to note that MVD is preparing temporary licenses for 32,000 plus drivers whose license have either expired since March 11 or will expire before May 15th. And so those drivers they're going to get a temporary license available by email. And so there's more than 33,000 drivers who have previously provided MVD with email addresses that did not have to take any action to receive this temporary license. These drivers will be receiving a printable temporary license permit via email. So good news on that front, actually, and will give folks a nice reprieve. Now, with respect to city services, I want to mention that UNM is joining our team with respect to the concept of drive-up Wi-Fi. And the Wi-Fi on Wheels program is now offering free outdoor Wi-Fi access all across the city. These locations are available again on our website or by calling 311. And UNM has added a location near their smart cone van, with their smart cone van in UNM's Rio parking lot. That is kind of near the stadiums, if you want to think about it, at University and Avenida Cesar Chavez, near the UNM Student Service Center. And it's going to be operational from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. for your free wireless needs. We also want to mention in the city we were able to get a donation, thanks to the One Albuquerque Foundation, to fund 10 more micro business grants. So 10 more businesses got some funding, $5,000 to help them from permanently closing. And so we're glad to roll that out. For details, we'll be sending out some information on that, and it's also available, of course, through the Economic Development Department. We also want to mention that online applications for the $1 million relief fund for nonprofits that are helping with Corona. This is through the City Council appropriation that we announced last week. Those funds were now in the application process, so we're moving as fast as we can. You can hop on our website for the online portal to file for services for compensation for your services through that fund. Okay, so now I want to transition over to our deep dive dashboard here. This is the Albuquerque Bright Spots dashboard, and this is something a little bit fun but also serious that we've been working on. And so I want to highlight some of the topics here before we transition to our Congresswoman Deb Haaland, who will be up next. And I want to especially share, too, that there's a gentleman named Ken Ziegler who worked really hard putting this together. Thank you so much, and everyone at the JIC team for putting this together. And this is part of our coronavirus data hub. Great point of information for folks who want to see all things Corona, and now you can also see some of the good things that are happening, including volunteer stories. The majority of our volunteers are making things like fake face masks, and they're also volunteering at food banks and mobile food pantries all around the state. And you can see over here, we've got the number of meal sites. We have the senior meals served. Look at that, 75,000 senior meals served. That is just awesome. And again, the mobile meal sites, that's from APS as well as our senior sites. And then we see down here too, this is the number of childcare hours that, again, for healthcare workers, first responders, essential workers, the city continues to provide childcare, and we track the hours there. Down here, this is the amount of money that's been donated. Now, this actually is the number of individual donations that has gone into our rental assistance fund and to the One Albuquerque fund that goes to the micro business fund and our rental assistance fund. This does not include the 100,000 that the One Albuquerque fund put into these programs. So this is just from folks online donating and sending in checks and so forth from our announcements. That is outstanding and extremely helpful for everyone. And of course, we also want to mention we have this map set up here, and this layers on all sorts of different things you can click on, whether it's Wi-Fi sites or meal sites and so forth. Now, also I want to mention that part of the stories that we're sharing, and we're going to share this one today as well in a press release, but also online. We asked, I think it was about a week ago only, just to help our neighbors in To'Hajiilee. This is, of course, a Navajo Nation chapter that borders Albuquerque out kind of behind the volcanoes. And so we very much view them as part of the central New Mexico community and the One Albuquerque community. And we've been able to really step up. Our Department of Senior Affairs and our police department substations have gathered 5,834 pounds of non-perishable foods and hygiene products and paper goods and cleaning supplies that were delivered last week. So thank you so much to everyone who helped in that One Albuquerque effort to help our neighbors out in To'Hajiilee. So I think with that, let me transition to a congresswoman who is just a tremendous representative for our state in central New Mexico. And it's so good to see her face digitally. She's self-quarantining, representing, leading the way in terms of what we're supposed to do because she just flew back from D.C. Thank you for fighting for the stimulus funding. Thank you for fighting for our state. And we really appreciate all you're doing. And we're glad to be joined here by Congresswoman Deb Haaland.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mayor Keller. And hello, everyone. Thanks for taking the time out of your busy days to tune in online to this important informational session. I'm so pleased to have local leaders here at the city, including Mayor Keller, who care about the health of our families and our neighbors, and a governor who has gotten ahead of this pandemic. In particular, Mayor, thank you for managing pandemic resources with an equity lens. If we've learned anything from this pandemic, it's that there is vast inequality in our country, and the coronavirus only magnifies the disparities that already exist. So we appreciate everything that you and your tremendous staff are doing. To date, a few highlights of the federal funding we've delivered for Albuquerque in the CARES Act. $150 million in emergency funding, $16.7 million for the Sunport, $79.8 million for Albuquerque for transit. Plus, just this week, the delegation and I announced $6 million for contact tracing and testing statewide. That is one of the most important aspects of this whole stimulus piece, to make sure that we can see who is sick with the virus and where they got it from, so that we can continue to tap down on the curve. Congress just last week passed the Paycheck Protection and Healthcare Enhancement Act. After hearing from families who are struggling to pay rent and make ends meet, and talking to local leaders about the budget struggles that are on the horizon, I'll be honest, it wasn't the bill I would have written, but it did provide important relief for healthcare workers, families, and small businesses. $310 billion in additional funding in the Paycheck Protection Program, with $30 billion reserved for community-based lenders, small banks, and credit unions, and $30 billion for medium-sized banks and credit unions. $50 billion additional funds for SBA disaster lending, $10 billion in SBA disaster grants, $75 billion to provide resources for the front lines, including personal protective equipment, $25 billion for testing, which is the key to reopening the economy and resuming our lives. That bill didn't include funding for states, local, and tribal governments. So today I'll update everyone on a few things we're working on for the next bill, which will be particularly important for New Mexico. We know that Albuquerque, local, and tribal governments across the state are losing revenue and spending more funds to manage the pandemic, so my team and I are working to do a few things. The first, include more emergency funding for state, local, and tribal governments, no matter their population size. Remove restrictions to use emergency funding so that local governments can use it to make up for lost revenue, which I know is extremely important. Provide funding to build out high-speed broadband in rural areas so everyone has access for school, economic opportunities, and essential activities, such as replying to the census, which everyone should be doing when they have a chance. And filing for unemployment, of course. I'm also asking the administration and House leadership to waive the cost share that state and local governments need to pay when they get funding from FEMA for disaster assistance. This will help those local governments like Albuquerque that are experiencing a decrease in revenue and don't have the money to spend on cost share. Last, I want to thank everyone for taking this so seriously. I know this is a hard time, both emotionally and economically. But New Mexicans are resilient. We help each other out and we respect each other. I know that we'll come out of this stronger than ever before. If anyone is having difficulties accessing benefits or even needs assistance with Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, VA benefits, or any other federal program, my office is here to help. And we are open. We're all working from home. We're working remotely, but we are absolutely open. So give us a call at 505-346-6781. Again, Mr. Mayor, thank you so much, and I will turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman. So special to have you join us, and thank you for fighting for New Mexicans each and every day. And of course, we know too, a lot of folks ask us, how are we doing financially as a city and so forth, and we're just so grateful for that 150 million. And so we're working through the details on it, but we're just blessed and grateful in Albuquerque to have your leadership, and it's literally paying off right now as well. So we really appreciate that. So we are going to actually move to a little bit of a Q&A session, and want to let folks know our Congresswoman wonderfully has offered to take a few questions. And so those will come through, and so we'll work through that. But we're especially honored and grateful for her to be here, and also her willingness to take a few questions. So as I move into that, I just want to say a couple of things. Number one is that there's lots of ways to help. And actually, I think, Congresswoman, I'm going to turn it back over to you to talk about a specific way we want to highlight today. And then I'll take us into some question and answer session. Congresswoman?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Very happy to talk about this. Today, we're highlighting an important collaborative effort that the delegation, AFRL, and I are working on. No doctor, nurse, or hospital should have to strain to stay healthy or serve families who seek care for coronavirus symptoms or any other reason, but healthcare professionals both to run hospitals are sharing with me and our leaders that they don't have the necessary personal protective equipment or PPE. So the delegation, the governor's office, and I got to work with a collaboration of community partners, including AFRL, New Mexico, Air Force Research Labs, New Mexico, Sandia Labs, UNM, NMSU, and various businesses to gather and distribute personal protective equipment. So if you know a manufacturer or have extra personal protection equipment, we're asking you to step up for the folks who put their lives on the line every day to keep our families and neighbors healthy. This Saturday, we're hosting a PPE drive right here in Albuquerque. Drop-off will be this Saturday, May 2nd from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. at Star Brothers Brewery, 5700 San Antonio Drive, Northeast, Suite B1, the Smiths on Montgomery and Tramway, Bosque High School at 4000 Bosque School Road Northwest. And look, we'll post this on social media, so you'll have it. And if you need to reach us for any reason, you can visit nmcovid19.org, or you can call my office and ask us personally. Again, my number, 505-346-6781, for more information about how you can help. And thank you in advance for stepping up.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Congresswoman. What a great program, and appreciate all the partners involved in that. So I think with that, Star Brothers has a very tasty burger, which is a good segue to our takeout of the day. Yesterday was DG's Deli, a classic, of course, for UNM students, and still open for takeout. All right, so with that, actually, we're going to stand for questions for folks, and we will start that process. So whenever you're ready to do that, Jesse, go ahead.
None so far.
Okay.
We'll just give it 30 seconds, Karen.
So we'll sit tight just for a little bit as a couple of these roll in. And Congresswoman, great to see your smiling face, of course.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think it's a good time for us to remind folks about what they can do to prevent spreading this virus. Washing your hands for 20 seconds. Staying 6 feet apart from everyone. You can wear a mask when you go shopping at the grocery store or to get gas or wherever you are. There you go. My sister made us some masks, so we have some very stylish masks that we wear when we go out, although I'm in for at least another week since I'm on self-isolation since coming back from DC. So we're still in a phase where we're working hard to prevent the spread of this virus, so we all should be doing our part.
Awesome, great reminder. Thank you for that. All right, we'll check and see if any came in. We do have a few. Go ahead.
We have a couple questions. The first one from Jessica Dyer at the Albuquerque Journal is, based on existing written guidance, it appears that Albuquerque's $150 million in the CARES Act funding can be used for small business grants. Is that your understanding? And if so, how much would you like to see go to such type of grants?
So the question is about the usage for the $150 million, and basically there are a host of questions just like that. And we're working through them this week and next week to really understand how best to use them. We're also requesting further guidance and going literally back and forth on the different uses for that. So stay tuned. I think the short story is we want to use as much of it as we can. And so that's our goal.
Similar question from Chris McKee at KRQE. Does the city have any sort of guidance yet about how it can use the CARES Act funding? And can Congresswoman Haaland shed any light on the strings attached to the $150 million?
So maybe I'll start, and then Congresswoman, you can add in whatever you'd like. There are lots and lots of strings attached, and these are right now at a very high level in terms of, it says, you can use it for reimbursement or for the following. Well, the question is, reimbursement for what? And what constitutes corona-related and so forth. So in general, the city very much wants general, revenue replacement so that we can just use it so we don't have to do furloughs. That's really what we want it for. But I know right now that's been a challenge that Congress is working on as well. Anything else you want to add to that, Congresswoman?
Well, I can just say that the Democrats are absolutely working very hard every day to build flexibility into the next bill. So, look, we know, Mr. Mayor, that local governments, they are the ones who know their communities best. They know far better than us in Congress how the money should be spent. So we want cities to be able to adapt in the best ways possible, and that's what we're pushing very hard for in the next bill.
Excellent, thank you.
No further questions.
All right, it looks like that's all we've got for today. Tomorrow, I want to remind folks we're having our Kids Town Hall. This was requested. It should be fun and also insightful. So that's what we're going to be doing for our 11:30 briefing tomorrow, the Kids Town Hall. And I believe that's mostly going to be on digital platforms, so stay tuned on Facebook for that and our other digital platforms as well as GOV-TV. And it's actually going to be I think it's going to be at 1:30, not 11:30. So tomorrow we'll see you at 1:30. We'll be back at 11:30 on Friday to talk about law enforcement and some public safety issues. So with that, Congresswoman, great to see you. Stay healthy, stay safe, and same with everyone else in Albuquerque. Thank you.
Thank you, all of you.